Sherry, congratulations on the new album, your first release in some time, the wonderfully titled The Divine Crimson V, which I might add has an equally wonderful album cover. But before I go on, can I say that as a long-time follower of yours, it's wonderful to have new music from you. I was kind of wondering if we'd get another album from you. So I guess an obvious first question is, how did the new album come to fruition? And I believe that there was a lot of involvement from the folks at Victoria University, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I work at Victoria University and became artist in residence there, so I could use, there's a music studio there, it's the music department. So I was able to record in the music studio over the past 3 years and write songs there and also do some artwork to go with it. So that support really helped me to get it all moving along and hopefully I'll get it to present it in between lockdowns sometime soon.
So you did have some kind of mentoring role for students there, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm actually the music industry engagement person, so I help them get gigs. I'm the booking agent for the music students in the degree course and also run music industry workshops and get them work placement in the industry. So it is a mentoring position and I really enjoy it. It's pretty hard at the moment though to give, it's feeling pretty dismal for the arts and live music. The scene has really taken a hit. So it's, I guess it's my job to remind these young, music fans that there is still hope and they can follow a music career when this is all past.
It must be rewarding though to pass on, some of the skills and knowledge you've learnt to aspiring musicians.
Yeah, it really is, and I think they're quite open to it. Many of them are, they're very respectful of what I've done and are open to advice that I can give them. They will get online and look up Girl Monstar clips and look up my Wikipedia and go, ooh, you played with Iggy Pop at the big day out, things like that.
As an astute fan of yours, I noted 2 accompanying images which adorn the labels on the vinyl release where the main character is holding a ukulele in one image and an acoustic guitar in the other. So along with the Flying V, those 3 instruments are quite an accurate reflection on your career. Girl Monstar with the V, the acoustic, I guess, for your solo career, and then the ukulele maybe with the Mudcakes. Were those references intentional, I take it?
Oh, of course, Dennis. You know me so well, don't you? I really appreciate that you got that. Yeah, it's the trilogy.
Good.
And that collage, I did all those collages when I was studying visual art at Victoria University. So I went back to study there in 2016 and did a creative arts industries degree. And I thought it was fitting, since this is a artist in residence project, that I use those images. I really like the images, and even though I was thinking, I don't know if it's really, some people said it's not really country, and I just thought, stuff it. I just really like it. And at this end of my career, I'm just doing what I love and what makes me happy and what feels right. And I thought it was a really strong image, especially the red flying V, and it really, to me, it symbolises honouring my own creative work. When especially as a woman, when you're bombarded by responsibilities that take up your life from like family and relationships and work, it's hard to eke out time for yourself to honour your creativity. So that image. And it's kind of it's a bit of a fun poke at the red flying V is usually associated with, white male heavy rock guys. And I just sort of like to take that away and subvert it and put it in the hands of the religious figure.
It's great.
And yeah.
Kirk Hammett from Metallica, I think, and Rudolf Schenker, both users of red flying Vs, by the way.
Yes. But as you know, I still love heavy rock. So it's, it just all ties in. It's an image that's really important to me.
Well, you've just explained my next question. There's a line on your Bandcamp page which says dedicated to creative chicks trying to find time to honour their art.
Yes, exactly. Funnily enough, most of the people who've bought the album so far are guys. but that's, that will probably change.
Yeah, I just need more people to hear it. But I guess it has been some time since you released the Dakota Avenue album and then Western Sun with the Grapes. It's tougher than ever before for artists to gain airplay and to get decent exposure or traction for their releases. This new album, and from the recent videos I've seen online, seems to have reinvigorated you somewhat. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, definitely. It's like I said before, I'm at the stage of my career where I'm just doing it for fun. I'm not really looking to target any particular market or be cool. I just am doing what I love. It's very varied songs on the album. There's folk and, it's varied within the roots field. There's really folky sort of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young inspired. There's honky tonk stuff. There's really slow, sad country like Neil Young, and there's there's a song that's kind of like a big star ballad because I love 70s. I love 70s rock and I love ballads. So it's just a bit of everything on there, and that's okay. I haven't got a record label saying to me, "Oh, I don't know about that song or that song." I'm just doing exactly what I want and what I love, and that's really feels great. Really feels good.
10 tracks on the new record. For me, though, one of the album highlights is the song titled Jessie, which is, in my opinion, right up there with some of your best work. That's no small statement. You've always had a knack of being able to write infectious songs with choruses that remain in the listener's head. I'm adding Jessie to that list. Super catchy. And I believe Jessie has its origins going back to your time living in Nashville, correct?
Yeah, totally. That's a song that was originally it was a slow country song called "It Ain't Right for a Girl to Be Left Alone for So Long." So it was like, "It ain't right for a girl to be left alone so long," and I just revisited it and thought, you know what, I'm just going to ramp this up and make it a really, a quicker country rock song and change it to Jessie. And, I wasn't sure about it at first, but I played it to a few people and the band really took it to another place too. The band on that track and on all the tracks, they really helped to refine the vision for the song.
Going on from that question, Sherry, how much unreleased work do you have? For example, any half-finished ideas sitting on tape from your time with Courtesy Move?
I don't think so. I have a lot of little ideas sitting on my phone from the last 10 years or so. But no, there's nothing else from that time.
Okay.
Well, actually there is. There's a few things from my Nashville demos that I might revisit. Yeah.
I love Rick's guitar tone on Jessie too. In fact, his guitar work on the record is solid, but his sound and feel on Jessie really caught my attention and suits the song so well.
Yeah, look, Rick is, as you know, he's a fantastic... I met Rick in Nashville, and he's a terrific guitar player and has played with some of the best, and he loves that B-bender style guitar that is made famous by the guy from the Byrds who invented the B-bender. I forget his name right now, but and I love it too. So I said to him, I just want you to put B-bender guitar all over this song. And he did, yeah.
Another tune which I thought is really solid is Tumbleweeds. Strong chorus again, and as someone who pays attention to lyrics, this track has some interesting lines like tumbleweeds blowing in the wind, travelling with a friend along the dusty road, where the journey ends I'll never know. What can you tell us about Tumbleweeds?
Tumbleweeds. So I think that it's about long-lasting love and friendship, and about letting go in a world where things are uncertain but knowing that, certain people will be by your side no matter what. And, yeah, it's a tribute to that, to long-lasting friendship and love.
Sherry, impressive gathering of fine players on this album too. You've got Rick, your husband, on guitars, along with your longtime cohort, Ashley Naylor, Doug Lee Robertson on bass, who performed and recorded with you from memory in the mid-90s with the Grievous Angels, but also in the credits I note that your daughter Freya is guesting on harp. That's got to be a special feeling to have her appear on the album.
Oh, yeah, it's so special.
Mm.
She's 16 now, and she's quite a good harp player, and so she played harp on Sunbird, and then she also sang harmonies on Lotus. She, like me, we love singing harmonies. She's got a really beautiful gift for that, and she's starting to write. She's a bit of a singer-songwriter herself. She's got her own SoundCloud page, and I think she's going to be following in the footsteps, perhaps.
Great. Well, that leads on to my next question. I guess devoted fans of yours will recall the wonderful Rich Family album, which you cut with your mum, Rick, and your brother Rusty, I guess 20 years back now. With your daughter expressing an interest in music, do you think you may release maybe another gathering of Rich Family songs, or maybe even a collaboration with yourself and Freya?
Well, you never know. She is saying that she'd like to do a version of, she really likes the last track on my album called Like Nothing Ever Happened.
Mm-hmm.
She says she'd like to do a version of that. So I'm not sure if we'll collaborate just yet. She is a teenager. But maybe she'll end up recording some of my songs, which would be great, yeah.
I've always wondered how your mum Nolene's journey began in music.
Well, she's actually got a book out. Dennis, I should send it to you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, it's not out, through bookstores, but for her 80th birthday, she wrote her memoir, and we had 100 books made up to give to family who came to the big party that we had in Brisbane. She started out teaching guitar in the late 50s when Elvis sort of was around and everybody wanted to learn guitar, and she played ukulele also. And then she was friends with the Bee Gees in Brisbane and used to sing and play on TV shows, the same ones that they did, and Billy Thorpe as well, and sing around at pubs in Brisbane. And then she was the girl singer on the Reg Lindsay travelling tour that went through Queensland, New South Wales in the 1961, I think, 62. And then, she got married and had kids and things slowed down a little bit. But you know what? We have a running joke that she still does more gigs than I do. So she is retired on Bribie Island. She's 83 now, and she is a real go-getter, and she still plays in many different ukulele groups and does gigs, and she's still making it happen. So she's a great role model for myself and my daughter.
Great. And by the way, and as you know, I love doing my music research. First song on that Rich Family album was an early recording featuring you and your mum, Nolene. The song recorded was Open Up Your Heart and Let the Sunshine In. That actually dates back to 1954-55, released in the US by the Cowboy Church Sunday School Choir. And I think it charted in the US back then as well.
Oh, my God. I think it also featured in a cartoon? Did Pebbles and Bam Bam sing that?
I think they did. No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
That's how I knew it.
Now, getting back to the album, the new album, Pedal Steel on this album is courtesy of Mike Daly, I believe. Is he Nashville based, and I assume he added his parts via file sharing?
Yeah, exactly. He is a Nashville guy. I started out wanting to make this album really Australian, with all Australian musicians, and written about my life and experiences in living in the west of Melbourne, which most of the songs are about that. But I really couldn't go past Mike Daly for his Pedal Steel. We were close friends in Nashville, and so I thought, it's okay, I'll send it over. And I think it was on 3 or 4 tracks. He did a beautiful job.
The catchy album opener I just played a couple of times before I called you, Standing in the Rain, is great. Turn my back up to the cold and grey till everything is washed away. Can I assume, Sherry, that was written during one of Melbourne's lockdowns last year?
Yes, you're right. Definitely. Yeah, look, it's about depression and just not, and about uncertainty and for the environment and uncertainty for what we're all going through at the moment. So I just walked down to the front of I live near the bay in Melbourne, in Newport, and it was a really rainy day, and I walked down there and just came up with the lyrics as my hair was being blown around and getting rained on down there. So, and then it started off as a fairly slow song, but the band turned it into that great rock, Stonesy thing with Ashley Naylor playing that sort of Keith Richards guitar. So it's quite an exuberant sounding song, but the lyrics, pretty dark.
Sherry, the song Car Crash on this record, kids doing 120 in a 60 zone, inspired by the Woody Guthrie song from 1939 titled Ballad of Pretty Boy Floyd, covered superbly years later, I might add, by the Byrds, as you'd no doubt know. Written incidentally by Guthrie only 5 years after Pretty Boy Floyd's death. What can you tell us about that one, Car Crash?
You really do your research, don't you? It's hats off to you. I'm impressed. Well, I wanted to, the great folk and the country tradition of actually just using an already well-trodden lyric. I thought that I would take that because it's about an outlaw and the song is about modern day outlaws. One in particular, my 19-year-old son, who's having a lot of trouble straddling the boy to man bridge in his life. And so I read, it's also inspired by a newspaper article that I read about, teenagers having a terrible crash somewhere. And just how hard it is growing up and how you get mixed messages from your parents and from society about, the way you should be. And, look, I really like the song. It's very different for me to write a song that's just sort of like a social commentary song and not related to relationships. I probably haven't done that since Beautiful, Talented and Dead, I guess. And the Pretty Boy Floyd, I just love that melody. I love the Byrds, and I've loved that song for a long time. And then I added the chorus, we were only chasing fun, we were only getting high, because that's not in Pretty Boy Floyd, but I just added that.
No, it works well.
Thank you.
Sherry, you mentioned the track Lotus before, which you released, I believe, as an online single a while back. It's also included here on the new album. Inspiration sourced, I'm guessing, from a bird which would visit your garden?
That's actually Sunbird. So Sunbird was the single I released a few months ago. That was from visiting my mum when she lived up in far north Queensland. I have a lot of family who live up past Cairns, and those tiny little sunbirds flit around the gardens there, and I love birds. So, yes, that's inspired by the sunbird, and Lotus is obviously inspired by a flower, but also it's a tribute to the beauty and power of young women, and it's kind of got reference to the sort of water nymph stories of, water nymphs calling to lovers and them drowning in the pond.
It's very sweet sounding, Lotus. I encourage listeners to put on a good set of headphones and just really enjoy it, because that's the best way to enjoy a song like that. Sherry, I'm going to get off track here for a bit and hit you with a couple of random ones before we finish up. Now, as someone who has got quite solid knowledge of your musical history, and I have spoken to you about Girl Monstar quite a bit over the years, can I ask, did you have a vision for the band early on, or were you happy to start a rock band and just see how far you could take it?
Did I have a vision for Girl Monstar?
Mm.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because now I teach, music industry to students, and I think, boy, I wish that I had have done a course like this when I was, in my early 20s, because we really didn't have a vision, and that's possibly the reason why we finished up so soon. We were only together for about 5 years. I really, because I teach my students about branding and image and all that sort of thing, we sort of, maybe because it's I don't know, we just sort of flipped around between different, we never sort of really latched onto a particular image and sort of, sold ourselves in that way, which looking back we probably should have. But, I'm the sort of person who I just love lots of different sorts of music, and if I was listening to heavy metal in 1 week, I'd write that sort of song, and if I was listening to, Jellyfish another week, I'd write that sort of song. So that's just the way I am, so I was never very calculating with Girl Monstar, and, maybe we should have had more band meetings about, should we be grunge or should we be this? And
no, I think that pop sensibility which was brought into those songs is what attracted so many people to it.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And I saw Jellyfish once in London years ago. They were very good.
Yeah, terrific. Very good. I saw them in Melbourne at the Palace one time too. Awesome.
Just going on from that, there's no point having regrets and looking back, but I've often wondered if the band had have signed with, say, somebody like Mushroom in 1990, not that is a guarantee of success, but, when things were cooking for the band, who knows what path it could have
Well, you know
taken.
what, Michael Gudinski, he had the Chantoozies. That was his all-girl band, and they were a covers band who didn't play their instruments. That's the all-girl band that he wanted, and he was quite out. He had said before to our manager that we weren't good-looking enough and we didn't party. So I don't think that we would have ever been signed to Mushroom, and I think that what happened was that grunge came along, and there was bands like L7, and that kind of stopped. It sort of changed the way the scene went.
Oh yeah,
and I think that was more, that played into it more than whether we signed with a major label or not, to tell you the truth.
As a side note, for any old Girl Monstar fans listening in, Sherry reworked and re-recorded an old Girl Monstar tune titled If Only You Knew on the Grapes Western Sun album and called it Step Inside, which is superb and well worth searching out. Sherry, whenever I view TV commercials for The Voice in recent times and I see Keith Urban, I am reminded that you were in a teenage band with him and your brother Rusty in the early 80s, Obscure Alternatives. I am curious to know as a teenager if Keith was not prolific on guitar back then, but or was he still learning his craft? Did he, show ability at that stage?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He was. I think he had a one-track mind when we were together in high school. And he was a lovely guy. We had a lot of fun together. Rusty and I and Keith used to come and have sleepovers at our house, and we'd record on my mum's double-speed Marantz stereo and record things and giggle, and we had a great time together. Yes, he was a very good guitarist. He was in the local country music club. Had very different music tastes to us, but it was always his goal to go to Nashville, even from when he was 15. So I'm not surprised at all that he got there. And then, of course, we all know he had drug issues for quite a few years, but he got through it. And yeah, I think recently Rusty and I recorded a little video message for Keith for his 50th birthday
Nice.
that his brother organised. So yeah, fond memories of Keith. And somebody actually sent me, Jeff Apter, who wrote that book about Keith.
I've got Jeff's been on the show 3 times. I actually have his book here on
really?
Bon Scott, which was just sent. I've got to get him on the show soon. But yeah.
Oh yeah. So
That's right.
I've been in contact with him lately, and he sent me a little program for a concert we did at high school, and it had Keith Urban drums, Sharon Bertha, which was actually, as you know, that's Sharon Bertha is my birth name. Sharon Bertha on bass, Russell Bertha on guitar, and then it had underneath it, "Will sign autographs after the show." And I thought, yes, I think we did.
Good.
And I was like, yes, so Keith and I were the rhythm section, for that band.
One of the best ways nowadays for artists to reach larger audiences is via YouTube. And folks, if you haven't subscribed to Sherry's YouTube channel, I suggest that you do. Sherry, you are uploading great content all the time. I noticed about a year back you did a lovely version of Across the Universe, which was great, filmed in the Botanical Garden, from memory, something like that.
Yep,
great.
Botanical Gardens, Williamstown, thank you.
Going on from the Beatles, I recall way back you and Anne McHugh under the Honeybees moniker used to cover Here Comes the Sun and While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which always sounded great when done acoustically. And might I add, you included a cover of the Beach Boys' Don't Worry Baby in that repertoire back then. So if you are looking for another YouTube suggestion in the future, that would get my vote.
Oh.
Don't Worry Baby.
That's a great idea. We used to, Girl Monstar, we used to do, "A bad little boy moved into my neighbourhood." So we used to sing that. We did that a couple of times at the Espy and at the Prince of Wales.
And the Hopetoun. But
maybe you don't even know that. Yes, you do. Of course you do.
Sherry, we should finish up. Lovely to chat with you. Congratulations on the Divine Crimson V. It's a wonderful gathering of songs. A strong mix of country rock, some folk, a wonderful ballad. I think this album is as strong as anything you've released, and I do hope that it reaches many, many ears because it is deserving of that. May I also say that your vocals, which first won me over way back in the late 1980s, still sound as strong and just as warm as ever. Always a highlight for those of us who have followed your musical journey, and another album highlight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. That's so sweet.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your enduring support. I really appreciate it throughout the years of my musical journey.
You're welcome. Now, if folks wish to get a hold of the new record, which is released on vinyl, I might add, which I also need to purchase soon and add to my collection, the place to visit
yes, you do.
is sherryrich.com. Lots and lots of info and history on there too. And I note you have a competition running at the moment where you can join the Divine Crimson VIP list and you could win a first prize signed test pressing. Is that correct, of the new album?
Yep, signed test pressing or
some
lovely artwork and some postcards.
Awesome.
You can also go to sherryrich.bandcamp.com and listen and buy everything there.
And you've also painted a series of lyric booklets, which I think is pretty cool, as part of the album launch, which hopefully will go ahead. I believe it's on the 10th of September at the Kindred Band Room in Footscray. Fingers crossed that will go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to go ahead because we've just been, 2 weeks more announced here. So it's probably going to be postponed. But yes, I have done art and music are really linked for me, and I've made a lyric booklet that goes with the album, or you can get it separately. I'm getting that printed right now.
Wonderful. Sherryrich.com is the place to visit, and I'll give links to that when we finish this show. Now, Sherry, before you go, every guest on our show gets to choose a song by an Australian band. Can be one of yours or something which is significant to you. What would you like to choose and why?
Whoa. Okay, off the top of my head, I've been listening to Died Pretty, and I love DC, that Died Pretty song called DC. I just think it's got such an uplifting and heartbreaking chorus. Like, at the same time, it's uplifting and sad, and I love songs like that, and I love Ron Pino's voice.
Yeah, wonderful choice. Choice.
That one.
Sherry, always great to chat with you. Stay safe. Good luck with the new album and for the remainder of the year.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Great to talk to you, and stay safe, stay well.